Great to see all of you. I was sitting in the plane for about 21 hours, coming from South Africa all the way to Seattle. And what do I see? I see you. What a blessing. Great to see you. It's a great topic, and it's the first conference in the whole series of youth conferences this year. So this month yet, or during the next 30 days, I'm going to be in Abidjan in West Africa, but then also in Kathmandu. And in Kathmandu, we expect more than 500-600 young people come and join us together for a conference on radical discipleship. And that's the conference we will do there. And I tell you later on, I hope you invite me again. You never know, you know. You invite an old man with a belly like mine, and then you're sick and tired of seeing this man again, so you may never invite me again. But I hope you do so. And then I tell you the stories of incredible miracles. My own son, Manuel, he is studying in Yale University. He does his master's there. Very expensive, I tell you. He received a scholarship, and it made it possible for him to study there. Manuel, being a theologian, he prepares to become professor, as his father does. And so I got so sick and tired of his professorial behavior, so I sent my son to Laos, which is in Asia, for a practicum. And you know what they had to eat? They would eat rats, grilled rats. There was terrible food. I mean, the pictures sent to us, to my wife and me, created a feeling that we did something very bad to our son. But he came back a changed person. You tell me stories of discipleship he has never seen before. My son grew up in Western Germany. He grew up in the West. He grew up in an affluent family of his parents. And then he went to eat rats. And he discovered a completely different type of discipleship. So during the 2 days, I'm going to talk to you about the problem of the Western world, about the problem of our world, the world you live in. And the promise of the biblical world, the world you may one day live in. You may do it already, and if you do, then I'll be the most happy man, you know, seeing people experience the same depth of Christian discipleship. In the world, but not of the world. Now this nice saying, you find this nice saying in the prayer. And the prayer was prayed by Jesus, our Lord himself. In John 17, he prays to his Father, and he asks the Father to bless his disciples, those who follow him. And then he says to his Father, they are in the world, but they are not of the world. Now, what does this mean in terms of discipleship? And what depth of Christian discipleship can be found in such a small sentence? Now, first of all, I want to remind us what's going on in our countries, like in your country. Now, I'm very often in the U.S., and you see, I do not speak any English. My English is all American. It's all Californian English, because that's the place I studied years back, and so it's a bit more Californian than anything else. Now, if I look at our Western world, I discover an interesting wing of Christianity, because they all talk about the world. To be in the world, be light of the world, be salt of the earth, be in the world, enjoy the world. Just chill, as some Christians say. Just enjoy, rest a bit. Just wait for God's blessing. The world out there is a wonderful place for all of us to enjoy ourselves. In other words, the world out there is for us. It's classic Western capitalist mindset. I look for relationships because I believe those relationships are going to give me something. I enjoy the world because I believe the world out there is going to give me something. The world is for me. The world is for me. And Christianity, based on those attitudes, capitalistic attitudes, is very similar. The church is for me. Marriage is for me. Worship services are for me. So if I come there and it doesn't make fun, it's not funny at all, so I don't like it, I leave and I go and search for a new church. I don't care. I want to see a place which is for me. It is very much me-centered. It's me. You see? Being in the world means to enjoy life of the world. There is, first of all, nothing wrong about it, because I'm a part of that world. Of course, I'm a man, and I like to be among men. I also like to be among women. I'm married now for more than 30 years, by the way. And always with this one woman. Is a great woman. You should have seen her. Much more beautiful than me. Sometimes I marvel her, still keeping a good marriage with a guy like me, having become old and fat. And she still sticks to me. So I belong to this world. I like the world. I like, for instance, German cars, even VW, after all the problems VW have created. I live in a country, the only country in the world without speed limits on our highways. And I love to go over 200 kilometers per hour. I love to drive speedy cars. I love the world out there. I also love pizza, but even more steaks, you can see. I love the world out there. So I see that I'm also part of the Western mentality. So the world out there seems to be for me. Now, Christianity concentrating on such an attitude is bad discipleship. And you will soon see why. But then, of course, there is another branch of Christianity. It's also Western. And they say, well, we would love to have nothing to do with the world. They flee the world. They become very monastic. But it's difficult to flee the world. If you want to you flee pants, you stay naked. So if you flee culture, you stay naked. If you flee a car, you are without one. If you flee the world, you become very, very otherworldly. So a monastic type of Christianity. Well, of course, many of them, they will not become monks and nuns. But what they do, they create their own little world. It is not only little Chicago, for instance, for the Italians, or little New York, or little China in Vancouver, or San Francisco. It's little Baptists. And it's little Methodists, and it's little so-and-so. Usually those guys, they even dress differently, and you can see them from far. I just go to some eastern parts of the United States and look at the Amish and their buggies. They're funny. Hey, they're great guys. Have you ever been invited to an Amish family? You go there. It's fascinating because those Amish women, they cook. My Lord. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. They look very funny. So they have said goodbye to the world. They say the world is bad. The world is bad. They even said not only the world is bad, mustaches are bad. So they shave them away. Yeah? They will say, no woman will ever wear pants because pants are bad. Trousers are bad for a woman. All of them have some under their skirt, but that's a different story. They hide them, you see? And they're shorter than normal. So they say the world out there is bad, so let's keep the world out of our church. We don't want to have anything to do with the world. We believe discipleship is always running away from the world. And so they are the classic escapist type of people group. Nothing to do with the world. So there are two alternatives. In your country, in the United States, you have both of them. You have the one wing, which is very this-worldly, very enjoying the world, very egoistic, very self-centered, well, very me-centered. On the other hand, you have those who say, well, nothing about me, nothing about the world. We are a little collective of different people. We have our little patriarchs, and they command, their generals in command. They direct our life. The thing is, friends, that both alternatives are, biblically speaking, absolutely wrong. Both are stupid, even. Because if you believe you are just a part of the world, then you make yourself to look like an ape, a baboon, somewhere in the jungle. If you say the world is me, then you become a part of it. And you disappear in the jungle of the world. You're just one of those. You're a little stone in a whole prairie of little, big, and bigger stones. You're just one little part of it. You're nobody. If you say, I'm out of the world, then you're even worse. Because then you pretend you do not exist. You're stupid. Absolutely stupid. So to live a Christianity which is this worldly or outworldly is a problem. Jesus never prayed that prayer. He have never said we should be like this. Never ever. Jesus prays to his own Father in heaven, to our Father in heaven, that his disciples may be in the world, but not of the world. In the world, meaning, living in real world, in a real culture. Living among people like themselves. Living in the world God made for us, but not living in the world just enjoying the world for ourselves. Never ever God made the world just for you. The opposite is true. God made you for the world. When the first human beings were made, God created Adam and Eve. He told them that they are now in charge of the world. They have to rule the world. They have to feel the earth. They have to be responsible for every creature living on earth. God made human beings responsible. He made human beings and he put into our hearts, into our minds, a sense of responsibility. The world out there is not for me. I am for the world. It's a complete different story, friends. The cat over there is not a cat for me. I am the boss of my cat. We have one, I tell you, many stories. I could have killed her long ago. But my wife is a cat-loving person. And I love my wife. And through the years, and our cat's now 18 years old. And our cat comes from Canada. We brought her from Canada to Germany. She's a foreigner to Germany. And our cat is a funny creature. Creates all kinds of problems. And wherever I come home, and my cat greets me because she knows I don't really love her as I should. And so she creates all kinds of trouble. She will say meow when I don't want to hear her meow. She will do all kinds of action, just reminding me I am her boss. And I have to care for her. I have to open the door to let her go out, to do gussy, 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 gussy. That's what normally humans do for a cat if they do not want to be wet. Because cats will not expect you to open the door forever. My doesn't. When I'm not gone, my wife is alone home, so our cat will wake her up at 8 in the morning. When I am home, she comes at 5. Because she knows I don't like her very much. So my cat is really working hard to get my attention. And I'm not kidding. And one day I started to understand. We bought that car, that cat, to enjoy to enjoy life. My kids wanted a kitty, so it was for them. And all of a sudden I start to understand, no, it's exactly vice versa. I am responsible for the cat, and for the dogs, and for the birdies. I discover my responsibility for the world. Jesus prays for his disciples, and he says, they are in the world. They are in the world. They are the light of the world. They are the light of the world. They are not just there because the world delivers them all kinds of sweeties and they enjoy themselves among the world. No, they are to light the world, to bring light, orientation, to bring a sense of direction to the world. That's why they are there. You see, that's a completely different story. The one sits down, chills, and enjoys her or himself. And the other is in action because she or he may understand God has sent me to change something, to change the world to a better place of life, of living. Wow, that's mission. It's completely different. And then Jesus prays and he says, but they are not of the world. They live in the world, that's right. But their nature is different. You hear my English and you know this guy doesn't come from the U.S. You're absolutely right, because English is my sixth language. And it's not my permanent language, so I don't speak everyday English. There are a couple of other languages yet before English comes. And so it is not that easy. I have to translate everything I say, and sometimes after 21 hours of flying from South Africa to the US, I get tired, and then I get a mixed vocabulary in my head. And when I say something English and I sound like a German, that's what happens. He's a foreigner. I am a foreigner. I'm not an Englishman in New York. I'm a foreigner. I am a foreigner here. And the Bible says, and Jesus says, my disciples, my people, they live in the world. They are for the world. They have a missionary task in the world, but they are not of the world. Nature-wise, they do not belong here. They belong somewhere else, completely else. The Bible tells us that our citizenship is not here on earth. Believe me, the paradise is not US. Even if Donald Trump tries to make us believe that this is the case. Well, he is a crazy billionaire. Some of you may even like him. I hate the guy. But I'm supposed to love even the guy like this? For me, being a professing Christian, that's not easy. And then he says he's a Christian. But the Christian understands my homeland is not America. My homeland is not Russia. My homeland is not the Ukraine. My homeland is not Germany. I do not belong here. I am here because I'm sent one. I'm a sent one. I'm missionary. This is not a permanent place for me to live. Yes, I carry a German passport. That's why it's so easy to come to your place in some other countries. In most of the countries, I don't have to have anything else. This passport is enough. I carry a German passport. But that is not my identity. And to be honest, I'd never fight in the German army to protect Germany. I will fight in the heavenly army to protect heavens. It's a completely different story. Now listen, do you understand? Do you understand? Christians, they are not permanently here. But even if you wouldn't believe this, I tell you, how old are you? 25? 24? Well, congratulations. You've got 50 more years to go. And then cemetery is greeting. A cemetery is going to greet you. It is obviously the case. And I am now 61, which means my expectation is much, much less. Maybe in 10 years, maybe in 5, I don't know. Maybe in 20, but if in 20, then I get an old man. I see my father being 84, and he just sits there day by day. And I don't wish him to die. Surely I do not. I love my father. But if I imagine me being that type of an old person, I'd probably volunteer to go to Syria and see that they shoot me. I'm kidding, of course. God knows how many days and years He provides for me. But I know one thing, that the time here on earth will get to an end. And then the story is done. And then you will find a little note saying, this was a nice fellow. His name was John. Bye-bye. Rest in peace. That's it. Wow. Because we all have to understand, we humans, we are not forever here. We are in the world, but we are not of the world. And so the Bible makes it very clear for us to be oriented towards the world is a problem. But the Bible doesn't say we are out of the world. The Bible never calls us escapists. We are not called to run away from the world. We are in the world, but our nature is different. And if you are a foreigner in a country, you have a task. Otherwise, you wouldn't be there. You've got a mission to accomplish. Otherwise, you wouldn't be there. You have a reason for being. Otherwise, you wouldn't be there. You exist because, not just. You exist because in the world, but not of the world. This is going to be our topic through our 2 days. And I'd like us to concentrate on the two very, very important positions. Now let me ask you, how do you view your life in the world? Is the world out there for you? You, a young man, not married yet, you come to a youth group, look around and see the girls, and they say they're all for me. Huh? They're all for me. You propose to one and you want to marry, and you say, well, you know what? I think you could make me happy. You make me happy. And then our marriages do not hold. They do not hold. And then love, today expressed in wonderful words, tomorrow plays no role any longer. Because all of a sudden I discover, she doesn't make me that happy. She makes me fat but not happy. And then I go and I leave everything because all of a sudden I discover this is limited. Yeah? You see, why are you in the world? Do you enjoy, is the world for you, or are you for the world? Did you ever think about this? Like I do with my stupid cat. I still live with lots of trouble because now she's very old, very old. She doesn't do any meow anymore. She does meow. I am responsible. And by years going by, I all of a sudden discovered, hey, it is funny. As soon as I go to that cat, spend a bit of time, give her attention, she sits only with me. Because the cat knows I am in charge. The cat seems to be much more clever than I have been in many years. I've studied, I'm a professor, I'm a doctor of science. All of this is true. But still, very, very one-sided stupid. So why are you in the world? Have you ever thought about this? What's your Christianity worthwhile? Take the world away. If the world wouldn't be there, would you be a Christian? Surely not. But you still believe you would. So are you in the world because you start to understand I'm there because God wants me to be there with a task for my neighbor, for my society, for my friends, for my wife, for my husband, for my kids. I am there because I'm responsible. God made me to be a royal representative of His kingdom in the midst of the world. Do you understand that? Just imagine, you be a king, or let's say you're a prince. Now, we don't have any king anymore in our country, and still we have princes. King is removed, but the grandson of the modern days king, of modern days prince, who is the grandson of the former king of Germany, William II, he still lives, and one day he phones me. He's a good Christian, a little younger than me. He phones me and he says, Professor Rаймер, here is Prince Philip of Prussia. I thought somebody was producing a joke, so I answered, and here is Iоганнес Раймер, King of Hackenberg. It's the little place I live. So he started to laugh, the guy. He says, no, I'm really Philip of Prussia. I'm really the prince. I am the real prince. So we had a nice conversation. And then I asked him, now, you are Prince of Germany. You have no office. You have no job. Nobody accepts you as a royal reality in our country. We have a prime minister, we have a parliament, and you royals, the only thing left to you is your nice palais, whatever you reside in. And then he says to me, it's very difficult to live with the knowledge you're responsible and to exercise that responsibility without an office. But still I have to. We are God's kings and queens in the world. Wow! You don't believe me? This is one of the most beautiful. I've just come from Africa, you know? Yeah, I love black collar. You're a wonderful queen of God. Did you know that? Give me 5.
Thanks.
Hey, you are a queen of God. You are God's kings and queens in the middle of the world. Did you know that? Did you ever realize that? Don't be runners running away from the world, but stay in the world as disciples of Christ. Now, radical discipleship starts with this decision. You want to be as God made you to be, or you reject that. And then you become what life makes you to look like. And you know, life is hard. You'll be surprised how fast you add weight and for how fast your hair becomes gray. You'll be surprised how fast you lose your money, you lose your business, how fast you lose yourself in the middle of the world. You will be surprised. So instead of running away, stay to what God has made you to be for. Stay in your royal status. In the world, but not of the world. It's a first decision. And I'd like to pray for you before we go into a pause. I'd like to pray for you gathered here. I don't know where you are at, but some of you may have had a complete different perspective. And I'd like to pray for you that God changes your paradigm. We're looking for a paradigmatical change in Western Christianity. If we do not change our ways of doing the Christian church and Christian discipleship, we will stay a very pious, a very ingrown club of Christians, absolutely irrelevant to the world. And the world will never even ask questions. The world will do their own game, and the world will be lost in their own biography. And you know who will be responsible for this? Us. Because God made the church to be an ecclesia, the called out of the world to accept responsibility for the world. That's why we're here. So I'd like to pray. And if somebody is here by saying, Johannes, I'd like to get the gears right. I'd like to change my perspectives. I'd like to see properly. I want to have the right perspective for discipleship. I want to do this. Please, Lord, change my mindset. I do not want to chill in the world. I want to live as a missionary of God in the midst of the world. If you want this, then please get up and I pray for you. Lord, you know Russians always get up when they're called to prayer. Sometimes this is good, sometimes this is just stupid. But you know why my young friends got up. And if they have gotten up because they want to have a paradigmatical change in their mindset, in their way of doing life, in their way of being a disciple, then Lord bless them. And let the 2 days of the disciples' conference become a change for all of them towards a better life, a deeper Christian life. Deepen our relationship to you, Lord. I thank you. I thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you, Lord. In Jesus Christ's name I pray. Amen.